I don't want to blow too much smoke, Min, but I'm very, very honored to be here. I've been watching Counter-Strike now for over 10 years, so very appreciative you've taken this opportunity. I know we have a lot to talk about, and I can't wait to dive into all these different topics. So just want to lead things off by saying thank you, because this is very, very cool for me. Counter-Strike feels like home. It's been one of the early starts I had in esports. So thank you for taking the time for doing this.
Hey, my pleasure, dude. And yes, it's a pleasure to speak with you, like fans of Counter Strike, like yourself. And yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. You know, it's amazing to see people still playing the game like 25 years later. And yeah, it's just crazy. But yeah, thank you, and it's a pleasure speaking with you, my man.
And people will likely know going into this, but in case they don't, Min, can you give an introduction to yourself and why we're talking today?
Yeah, sure. So I invented Counter Strike in like 1999, and then uh, uh, a friend of mine, well, he worked on another game as well. He was kind of a fan of my previous games. He joined me shortly after I kind of made it public, and so his name is Jess Cliffy. So around in 2000, Jess Cliffy and we started to create the first version of Counter Strike, and that's I believe it was around like early 2000 when we released, or maybe it was 1999. But anyways, around that time we released the Counter Strike Beta One, and it was just a mod for Half Life, and it was a free mod, and people can download it, and basically it just kind of blew up from there. It grew quite quickly. I mean, from the very first beta, we were getting a lot of good feedback and just a lot of positive sentiments from the players. So it grew really fast. So after beta one, we did like beta two, beta three, and then around beta five, Valve approached us, and that's when they wanted to kind of officially make Counter Strike a part of their company. And so we kind of basically sold Counter Strike to Valve, and we ended up still working for them. That was part of the deal. So once we sold Counter Strike to Valve, we would still continue to develop Counter Strike, and that's what I did up until Counter Strike 1.0. And so yeah, that's kind of how Valve kind of got connected with Counter Strike. Yeah.
And before we do like the deep dive on all the Counter-Strike questions, more on the dev and making video games background,
Hmm.
way backtrack. What was like the first video game you ever got the chance to play that was maybe like an inspiration
Oh,
for you getting into the career path?
I would definitely say it was Doom. Because Doom came out in probably 1990, I guess. Yeah, the early 90s, and it was one of the very first games that allowed people like myself, just amateurs, to actually change the game. Because before that, there was no such thing as a well, they call it an SDK. So it's basically just it's a toolkit that allows you to kind of just change the graphics of the game, maybe even change the code of the game. You can like add new monsters and that kind of thing. So Doom was the very first game to introduce that, and I was I was pretty creative, and I never made a game before that. Obviously, I was just kind of an amateur, but I really loved I love creative, like I love drawing, so I was really big into art. So I was pretty creative, and I kind of just jumped on it, and I started making like these levels for Doom. And then so yeah, I would say Doom is basically the very first game that really started my career in game development.
And then after that, when did you first start wanting to make the games?
Oh, so after that, after Doom came out, so the company that made Doom, ID Software, they released like Doom 2, and then they released Quake, which was a really kind of like a industry-changing game. Because and every time they released these new games, they would always release these SDKs, allowing people to kind of modify it. So I would always kind of grab the latest SDK, and I would always make new mods for like Doom, for Quake, and for Quake 2, and that's kind of how it kind of grew. Like I would just constantly create these new little mods, and so I was constantly improving my skill set as a game developer. And then eventually, when Half Life came out, I kind of just jumped on that, because to me Half Life was such a cool game, because it kind of took place in a kind of realistic setting. Because prior to that, Doom and Quake and all that, they were kind of like science fiction, kind of fantasy based, and I was more into kind of realistic games like SWAT and Ghost Recon, those types of games. So when I saw Half-Life, I kind of saw this really great opportunity to make a realistic FPS game that's kind of based in reality and kind of deals with like realistic themes like counterterrorism.
So, what are your thoughts on like the modern day mod community or games that allow these mods to coexist alongside a main game? Because we've seen a lot throughout the last decade that have really, really thrived with that kind of community. We've also seen some devs kind of take their foot off the gas and say, let's be a bit more restrictive with our properties. So, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah. Well, I think games that do embrace the community, like Modern Spirit, those are the games that are really driving the industry forward, and those are the games that are really allowing these new game ideas to kind of format. Because when you look at like a lot of the popular games on Steam right now, all of them came from modding backgrounds, like like a Dota, PUBG, like Warzone. I mean, Warzone was based on PUBG. Fortnite. Fortnite was basically it was kind of a copycat of PUBG. The whole battle royale style. So PUBG basically was started out as a mod for DayZ. So I think because of that ability for Brandon Green, who developed PUBG, the ability for him to have access to those tools to modify DayZ and create battlegrounds, it kind of spawned this new genre. So I think it's really important that game developers, like the people who make DayZ, the people who make Fortnite, it's really important that they embrace the community and allow them to kind of exercise their creativity, and those are the opportunities for new game ideas to come about. Because if you look at the past like 20 years, like if you look at the new game, the really new novel game ideas like Dota, like Battle Royale, there haven't been like they all kind of come from modding roots. They all kind of come from just like the amateur, like the amateur development scene. And so I think it's really cool what Fortnite is doing. How they're making it so easy for like creators to create like just really like dinky little games and stuff. And from that, we're probably gonna see another new genre kind of come about. A new kind of battle royale style kind of game.
Yeah, it's almost like a modern twist on the modding community of like make your own islands is their typical thing, but you have all of these devs now using UEFN, but they're making games still within the Fortnite realm or universe. So it's definitely a unique twist that I think we'll probably see. You have to be a big title to even, I mean, they've been spending a lot of money to get that done. So I can't, I don't know who the next big AAA is going to be to open up their universe like that, but I like the example.
Yeah, but the thing about like AAA companies like Call of Duty and Battlefield, the reason you don't see them opening up their tools is because it kind of prevents them from monetizing their game. It prevents them from selling like DLCs. It prevents them from selling skins for Warzone and that kind of thing. Because imagine if people can make skins like in Warzone and they can sell it the way that they sell skins in Fortnite. It kind of prevents Call of Duty from selling their own skins. So that's why you kind of you probably won't see it in a game like Call of Duty. Like you won't see like an SDK for Call of Duty or for Battlefield.
Yeah, because they kind of depend on the reiteration of like we're selling another copy next year. But Fortnite, they can keep on expanding the current universe and say, you buy a skin.
They're looking at the long term picture. They're looking at like they're looking at the long term forecasts. They're not, because I know Epic Games, they're not like super interested in making money off of Fortnite like immediately, like by selling DLCs and selling all those shits. They have their own way, so they're able to kind of combine the community with their own plans for kind of like updating Fortnite. But yeah, that's kind of why we don't see big games like Call of Duty and Battlefield. We don't see them kind of opening up their games, and I don't really think that's gonna change because I think that they kind of rely on that revenue of selling a new version every year. Because like every year there's always going to be a new Call of Duty, or every 2 years there's going to be a new one. And if people were modding it, it kind of makes it harder for them to to sell a new Call of Duty, because someone might make a mod that's kind of better than their game, kind of.
Yeah. Before we
Yeah,
go on too much of a tangent about battle royales and modding,
yeah,
to
yeah.
take a quick step back to, did I read correctly? Was your first game you ever made, was that during university or at college?
Uh, yeah. Well, I mean, the very first game that I probably made, I guess you can say, it was called Navy SEALs, and it was a mod for Quake 1. And I think I did that one in my, I think when I was in high school, like grade 12, and then I was transitioning to my first year of university. Yeah. So
What
yeah, I think it started around that time, like
what
grade 12. Yeah.
did people know that in high school? Because I was playing, I was like a closeted gamer throughout my early years of
Mhm.
high school playing RuneScape, and I had some people, kind of know about it, but very, very few I told. Did
Yeah.
people know that you were making video games in your free time in high school?
Actually, my classmates didn't really know about it. No. Uh, to be honest, I didn't have too many friends. I had a few friends, but we would just kind of play other games. Like I remember we would play games like Duke Nukem and those type of games. And I did show them like Navy SEALs and stuff. So I would kind of play with them, but they were more interested in playing like the games that were kind of better, like actual games that were like Duke Nukem and games that were actually made by. So they weren't really into the modding scene because the modding scene is kind of like janky. It's the games are kind of like they're buggy and that kind of shit. Right?
That's
But
just
uh, but yeah, yeah,
that's super
but
cool to think
yeah,
about, because I feel like nowadays as well, it's been probably becoming progressively more uh, accessible and easy for people nowadays in high school to be like, hey, I made a UEFN map or
oh
mod,
yeah,
right? And so it's probably
yeah,
becoming a lot
yeah,
more easy to talk about. And I can't wait to
yeah,
see. I'm sure you've inspired people that are in high school or college to start making mods or games of their own. So it's going to be cool to
yeah.
see how that goes these next 10 to 20 years and what crazy creations we're going to be seeing come up.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I mean, with the way Fortnite is, it's so easy. I mean, even my nephew, he's like probably like 14 or 15. He does like stuff in Fortnite and stuff. So yeah, I think it's gonna open up a whole new like door for a lot of amateurs, like even more so. So
Yeah.
so the industry has gotten like it's really grown. Like 20 years ago, there wasn't that many game developers. Like so there wasn't a lot of games that people can play. But nowadays, we're kind of like flooded with so many gaming options, dude. I mean, I don't have time to play like half of the games in my Steam library. So it's definitely changed. Yeah.
Yeah, I have other questions that are mainly Counter Strike centric, but we keep on you keep
Yeah.
on mentioning like other things that are so interesting to talk about and see your perspective on. And you've also made note of this before, the state of the gaming industry. We're so overwhelmed. We're
Yeah.
at sometimes we have so many options, maybe too many options. There's always a great
Mhm.
game to play. So what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the current gaming landscape?
It's a really good question. And from a game developer's perspective, it's very challenging because like 20 years ago when I made a game or when someone made a game, it was really easy to get eyeballs on it because, people didn't have much to choose from. So, they would play your game even though they weren't 100% down with it, like they didn't like really like it, like they probably saw a few flaws with it, but they would play it because there was nothing else out there to play. These days, when you show someone a game, they're like, it's good, but this part of the game I don't like it, so I'm just gonna go play this game. Or they'll say it's good, but all my friends are playing this game, so I don't have time to play this game. So as a game developer, it's very challenging to kind of convince people to just give your game a chance. Check it out. So that's a huge challenge for game developers because 20 years ago I didn't really have to worry about marketing. The marketing, it was easy for a game to go viral back then because there wasn't many games to play. These days, you really have to focus on marketing. Like as a game developer, you really have to spend a lot of time to just get people to just know about your game and just gonna give it a shot. And even when they do see it, they're gonna judge it, and they're gonna judge it on a very high pedestal. They're gonna say, well, this game, it doesn't look like I can play Call of Duty. They'll kind of compare it to that, and it's fair for them to say that because people's time is limited. They're so they don't have much time to play. They're gonna spend time on games that for them really kind of hit them, and it hits them really well. And so yeah, it's a big challenge for game developers because it just becomes so crowded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like more competition, As you
Yes.
said, more
Yeah.
crowded, but a higher bar of expectation from the consumer. So
Yes. Yeah.
as a smaller studio or even indie
Yeah.
devs and studios, how do you work to
Yeah.
like penetrate the market now?
Well, I think it's really important for smaller studios to kind of like open up their development process to the community at an early stage. So that way you can grow your community at an early stage, and so basically your community will grow over time, and that way you can get feedback. For one thing, you get feedback from the players, and that will help you shape the game and kind of like fix a lot of just like critical flaws in your game design. And also another thing, it'll allow you to basically slowly grow your player base. Whereas now, I've seen some situations where indie games will kind of spend a lot of time to make their game, like 5 or 6 years, and then they'll show it to the public, and then they're having a hard time to kind of like raise awareness, because raising awareness takes a lot of time. I mean, like especially in this crowded age of just so many other games out there. So that's I think that's big. That's probably the biggest advice that I can give to indie developers is if you can start opening up your like creating a community at the very early stages of your development. I think that's really important, and that's kind of how Counter-Strike started. I mean, the very first beta was just really shitty. It was really ugly. Uh, but we were able to get people interested in kind of just understand what the game was about, and from there it just kind of grew. But then again, that this was 20 years ago. It's really hard to compare how Counter Strike developed, because if I were to make Counter Strike now in this environment with all these other games, it would be very challenging, because people just have high expectations. They're gonna look at it and they're gonna say, this is too janky. We're gonna, I'll come back later when the game is not as janky, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, definitely, as a game developer, for sure. Yeah.
It's just so wild
Yeah.
to hear. Like, if I were to make Counter Strike today, it would be much more difficult. It might not work out. But speaking back on that,
Yeah.
I would love to know the timeline of when you first had those initial inspirations or concepts for the game. From then, how long was it until Valve was knocking at the door? And then how long until you guys negotiated a sale and then to keep on working for Valve? How long of a timeline was that?
Oh, okay. So from the very first point that we released Counter-Strike Beta 1, uh, I think we released Beta 1 and then 2, Beta 3, Beta 4, Beta 5. At that point, that's when Valve reached out to us. And between the first Beta 1 and Beta 5, that was about a year, or maybe even less than a year. Yeah, it was actually really fast. It was probably less than a year, maybe 10 months. So from Beta 1, we in 10 months time, the game's popularity grew so quickly that it kind of caught Valve's attention. Because I think by the time we reached Beta 5, we were probably like the second most played multiplayer game. I think that I think at the time the most popular multiplayer game was probably like TF Team Fortress or something. Yeah, something like that. So we were kind of like we kind of overtook Team Fortress in terms of popularity, and that's when Valve kind of reached out to me, and they kind of like yeah, they just, so basically they emailed me, and they kind of drove down, because they live in Seattle and I'm in Vancouver, and it's only a 2-hour drive. So they sent I think they sent Robin Walker, who is basically the creator of Team Fortress, and someone else. Unfortunately, I forgot the other person. But basically, they just kind of came up to Vancouver and just kind of met me and just kind of try to get a feel for who I was and that kind of thing. And then after that, once they made sure that I wasn't some crazy dude, they went back to Seattle, and then they basically told Gabe, and he says, yeah, he's cool. We should hire him. And then they basically offered us basically a contract to basically just buy Counter-Strike and basically hire us as employees of Valve. And so that probably took about a month, I guess, from after I initially met Robin Walker. So everything happened really fast. Yeah, it was really, really fast. And I was like 20 years old at the time, and like I was still a student, and so I was really excited to work with them, because I kind of held them in such high regard, and I still do. So I really admired what they did for the industry, and so it was a no-brainer for me to join them. And so I just basically said, yeah, let's do this, and I just signed with them, and we continued to work on Counter-Strike for about a year after that. Yeah.
I know you've given like rough estimates, but can you give us like an idea of what back in the day Counter Strike was sold for? I know you can't say exacts.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not at liberty to. I mean, it's probably not fair for me to talk about the numbers too much, but I mean, for me at the time, I was 20, so I mean, it was enough for me to pay off my student loans, and I also was able to help my parents pay off the mortgage on their house, and I bought like a car for my girlfriend. So yeah, it was enough for me to kind of like settle some bills and just just kind of help people around me that kind of helped me. And so, but yeah, but I didn't, unfortunately. Yeah, there wasn't like any like revenue sharing involved in it. So
That was
so
the
I
next
mean,
question.
yeah, I probably, yeah. Anyways, I mean, so basically, long story short, I don't really receive any like
Royalties?
royalties from the game like up to, after that point. So they basically own Counter Strike for sure, like 100%. Yeah.
Now I know like it came with a job, and at the time you were 20, your university, it's the offer of a lifetime to work with Valve, right? Inspiration for you, and they had interest in an amazing project that you had made.
Hmm.
So at the time, I'm sure you have no regrets on that decision. But is there any bit of you that 20 plus years later, you see they're making like $1 billion a year off cases? Do you ever wish like you had asked for like a little bit of a royalty, anything anything at all?
Uh, yeah, I mean, like probably just like a small bit, but the majority of myself, I kind of feel like every decision that I made in the past, it was made, with 100% clarity. Like I wasn't really stressing about it too much. Like I kind of like with all the information that I had at the time, I felt that that was the best decision that I made for everything that I knew about it. Because you have to keep in mind, when I sold Counter Strike, it was this free game. It was a game that it was free. So I had no idea how much value it had. So I thought, it's just free. So if they're paying me money for a free game, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Whatever.
Plus, have you ever thought back, what happens if you decide, no, Valve, I don't want to sell you Counter-Strike?
Oh
What
yeah,
parallel universe are we in there?
dude. Oh man, that would be crazy. Yeah, it's hard to imagine. I mean, like, I don't know, dude. I really don't know. That's a really good question. I wish I could. I wish I could imagine what could happen, but I would probably still keep working on it, like, cause I was so excited to work on it. So, cause I knew that people love the game, so I would constantly keep working on it. But I think if Valve wasn't involved, it would probably take a lot longer for it to reach like 1.0. So it would just be, yeah, it would still be a bit janky. So it would just take a little bit longer, probably. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting question, but yeah, I have no regrets of working with them. I mean, working at Valve, it really opened up a lot of doors for me as well. I had the opportunity to kind of learn from the best in the industry, and just the people there were just incredible, and just, yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, it was kind of that was one of the reasons why I signed the contract so quickly. Is just, part of me was just, I wanted to work there, and I wanted to kind of like pick their brains. And so yeah, it was a good deal for both of us, I think.
And you got to have some hands on Rust as well, too, right?
Yeah,
Another
I
amazing
worked
game.
at Rust. Oh yeah, Rust was cool, dude. It was crazy because yeah, when I first got hired by Rust, it was such a small little project, and like it wasn't really that popular. And when I first saw it, I was like, man, this game's janky. I was like, I'm not sure if people are gonna like this game. It was super jank, and but it had a small audience, and it had a player base, and people really enjoyed it. And like, to be honest, it was not the type of game that I would play. It has because in order to enjoy Rust, you have to have a certain level of patience.
Insanity. No.
Yeah, so like maybe insanity, because it's a very it's full of griefing a lot, and so you need to take a lot of time. You need to put in a lot of time to kind of like grow your character. And so I'm kind of an impatient gamer. I prefer games that are really just like kind of like you can get into them immediately and just kind of like play them for a couple hours and just. But Rust is a different beast, and so it's a more long-term investment to kind of really get the most out of Rust. But yeah, I really enjoyed working on Rust. It was a great team, and yeah, it was a really really great project, and it just the way that it turned out so successfully. I think it just kind of speaks volumes to the way that the team at Rust are able to just um, yeah, kind of just create a great game. I mean, they're a great company. Like Facepunch, like Gary Newman. He was an awesome dude. He was an awesome guy to work with, and also the guy that invented Rust. His name is Helk. Well, that's his nickname. His real name is Marino Berry, and so Marino Berry, he's the one that kind of invented Rust, and he kind of basically is the one that just came up with the whole idea. So he was a big fan of Counter-Strike, and he kind of liked the way I created the guns in Counter-Strike, and he wanted me to kind of do that for Rust. So that's how I got the job.
That's so
Yeah.
sick. And Rust is like one of those games where nowadays me and my buddies will go back for a weekend, like twice a year. We'll put
Yeah.
we'll put 20 hours in, 30 hours in, and then your base gets rated or you die rating, and then
Yeah.
and you don't go back for 6 months. That's so definitely
Yeah,
a
yeah,
different style
yeah.
game than Counter Strike.
Yeah, it's totally different. And when you do play it, you have to invest like each day you have to play like 4 or 5 hours, right?
Oh, at
So
least yes.
yeah, it's crazy. It's like a full-time job, right? So
Yeah.
it's a really unique experience, and yeah, I wish I had the time to really fully experience it that way. But I can totally see like when I was 18, when I was 18 or 19, I had a lot of time, so I would play games for 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. So so definitely, but these days I'm kind of older, so I don't have that luxury. So
Definitely a different gameplay loop than what is Counter Strike. And people had questions about this. What were the initial inspirations for a 5v5 FPS? You got a bomb, you got to defuse it, especially back then. Like, what were those
yeah.
inspirations, and how did that come to be?
The funny thing is, it didn't start out as 5v5. In fact, when I made Counter Strike, I was more into like larger player numbers. So we had 10 versus 10.
10
I
versus
think
10?
Oh yeah, it was 10v10. Yeah, I definitely remember that. It was like, in fact, I think we had like at one point it was no, I think it was 10 versus 10. Yeah, I don't think we went past that because the maps were too small. But yeah, I mean the very first beta it was 10 versus 10. It was really chaotic. There was no strategy involved, and it was insane, right? It was just insanity. So, but that's kind of what I like. I'm kind of like I'm a fast-paced kind of guy, so I kind of prefer that whole chaotic run and gun kind of style. So I kind of enjoyed the 10 versus 10, but I think it's good that it kind of became 5 versus 5 because that's how Counter Strike has really truly shined to become an esports game, and that's when Counter Strike can be a very very like tactical and very strategic game to watch as 5v5. So yeah, but originally it started out as a 10v10 game, and the whole round-based thing was I stole it from a previous game that I had worked on. So a game called Action Quake 2, which was also kind of like a mod. And so that was the first game that I played that basically when you died, you had to kind of wait out the round. And that to me it kind of changed my way of thinking because it made me realize that this style of gameplay it encourages team play more. It kind of encourages you to be careful and not just run around and just kind of gun around. Because before that, deathmatch was popular. People would just die and then respawn and die, and then there was no thinking involved. So you would just run into the firefight and just kind of like you wouldn't care if you died because you knew that you would respawn again. But when I played Action Quake 2, I realized by having people not respawn, it kind of changed the whole game mechanic. It just made the game feel more. It made the game feel more tactical. Yeah, it just made it feel more like team oriented.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was really important. That was a really big key to it.
I'm
Yeah.
just trying to
So
imagine Pro CS as 10v10 nowadays.
yeah,
The madness that it would
dude,
be.
that's fucking nuts. Yeah, I know. I don't think it would work. Oh, I mean, obviously, I know it wouldn't work, but it's crazy. But CS still does have 10 versus 10 if you play casual, right?
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah,
makes sense as a casual mode for sure. But I'm just
Mhm.
instantly go to pro. I'm like, I can't imagine. It's funny how
Yeah,
the
yeah.
standardized FPS games have gone to 4v4, 5v5s
Oh yeah, yeah,
to have that
definitely.
team orientation, but not too much madness. It's
Yeah,
funny how those numbers
definitely.
came down to be. But
I
I
think
would
it
love.
kind of stems from like traditional sports like basketball and hockey, and you kind of see how many numbers that they have, and it's like it makes sense that it's 5 versus 5, just due to the size of the map and size of the arena. That it would be too crazy if it was any larger.
Yeah. I would love to talk about. I mean, I have plenty of other CS questions, but I would love to talk about more games in general too, because your perspective on the gaming industry is not just tenured, but I'm sure it's also very different from a lot of people out there because you've been involved for so long. So, what are your thoughts on maps from other games when it comes to like a CS competitor like Valorant?
Mhm. Uh, so I haven't really played Valorant too much. I've just seen it occasionally. I haven't seen like, so you're asking me what are my opinions on the maps in Valorant? Like
Yeah,
how do they?
or just Valorant in general. But I guess you
Oh,
haven't seen too much. You're staying true to your roots. Respect that.
yeah. Well, I mean, Valorant, yeah, to me Valorant seems basically Counter-Strike but just with a different theme and, special abilities, that kind of thing. So yeah, it never jived with me. I just kind of saw it and I just said, yeah, I guess it's kind of like a different it's just for a different audience, you know. So yeah, I mean the reason I like Valve is because I like the theme of counter-terrorists, so that's kind of why I like it. And it's more about just the gunplay. It's not about like, I mean, it does have utilities, grenades, and that kind of thing, but it doesn't go too crazy into the whole special abilities kind of thing.
So
Um, but with regards to like other games, I did play a lot of Battlefield. Well, like in terms of multiplayer games, I really enjoyed Battlefield a lot. I played a lot of PUBG. I played a lot of Warzone. Uh, I think like if I had to choose one of my favorite FPS multiplayer games, like if it wasn't Counter Strike, I would say I'm a big fan of Battlefield. I really like Battlefield. I really like Battlefield because just the game becomes very unpredictable and very kind of like crazy things happen because of just how many players there are and the fact that you have vehicles. There's a lot of emergent gameplay that comes about from Battlefield. Like every time you play a Battlefield map, like it kind of it's like something new, kind of unexpected, kind of happens, kind
yeah,
of thing. So that I like that part of it. Yeah,
and
I did enjoy Battlefield.
that's interesting. And are you excited for the new one? Because it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean for sure. I mean I played Battlefield One, the one that took place in World War One. I love that one. That was awesome. And I did play Battlefield 5, the one that took place in their naming convention's fucked up, man. But yeah, the next one, Battlefield 5. I did enjoy that one, even though people didn't really. I enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed most of the Battlefields, but the one of the biggest issues they had was the cheating thing. But we'll get to the cheating thing later. Cheating is a problem with everything. But yeah, with Battlefield, I kind of gave up because I was like, every other game that I joined had a cheater, and so that was like, too much.
Yeah,
But
that's a tough combatant. We'll definitely get
yeah,
to that later.
we'll touch on that later. But yeah, Battlefield games are definitely a highlight for me. I really enjoyed them. Yeah.
Well, because I had asked initially about Valorant because I think when it comes to traditional 5v5 FPS space with a also reliance on esports,
Yeah.
CS and Val really dominate that space. So I wanted to ask you,
Mhm.
like, do you think there's enough room in this space for another, 5v5 FPS slash shooter?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the reason Valorant was able to succeed was because they did enough to separate themselves from CS. For one thing, they had a different theme. Like the art style of Valorant, to me, it reminds me of like Japanese anime, and so I think they kind of were able to kind of appeal to people who kind of like Japanese kind of anime kind of style, kind of. So that kind of stylistic art style did kind of bring up kind of capture a different audience. And also the fact that they added those magical abilities, even though I'm not a big fan of them, but I think a lot of other players who aren't really good at the gunplay, like I know some people who don't really, they can't shoot that well, but they're able to kind of use the special abilities to kind of like help their team out.
Plus, it
And so
ties into the Riot ecosystem with League of Legends abilities, kind of carries over into Valorant too. So I think it
oh
made a lot of
yeah,
sense.
yeah. So that kind of made it so people who weren't so good at shooting, they could still kind of like kind of contribute to the game, to their team by kind of being a good utility person. So I think that kind of separated itself from Counter Strike, and they were able to kind of carve their own kind of niche. So I mean, can another third game come out that I can't think of anything, but
Could
who
it
knows?
separate itself from Counter-Strike while also
Yeah,
separating itself from
from
Valorant? Because they
Valorant,
both
it's
are
crazy.
they're both similar but different, as you already said.
So many games I've tried. I mean, like if you look at the
True.
past few years, right? A lot of games have tried to kind of find their own formula. Like Spectre Divide, that was one game. I thought that was, I played Spectre Divide, and I thought technically it was awesome. I mean, it was really well done from a technical standpoint, like graphically, and then I thought it was visually appealing. The one thing I couldn't really jive was having to control a different body. That to me was too much for me because I was like I couldn't handle, like I can only control myself, and having to babysit another player felt like that's a bridge too far for someone like me. I couldn't really adapt to that
I agree
skill.
with you.
Yeah,
It was very
so
unique. But
it was
I
unique,
think you
but
really have that gap between casual and hardcore, and you make it a pretty niche aspect of the game that was
yeah,
unique, but can be
yeah,
pretty. It can be as a deterrent for casuals. And
yeah,
they spent so much money to get there. It's like by the
yeah,
time they were there, they're already almost 100 million in. You,
yeah.
uh, it would have had to blow
So
up for
yeah,
it to survive.
yeah. So it's unfortunate, but from technical standpoint, I thought the game was great, and I thought the levels were really cool, and it's just like I said, if it doesn't have, if you don't develop your game from a very early point, you can't see those flaws. Like you can't see, oh shit, this isn't gonna work out by having, because not many players can really adjust to having to control two avatars. So I think, yeah, I think they could have benefited by having a more open alpha version that was more, you know, maybe opening the game a bit earlier. But it's easy for me to say these things because,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but they probably had their own challenges. It's I don't wanna downplay anything that they've done because it's difficult. It's difficult making a game, and I tip their hat that they were able to even release a game in such a good state like that. But
Yeah, I also think
it's
shooters are.
it's challenging.
I think
Yeah.
the shooter genre can be a bit overexhausted at times too. Like you said, plenty of people have tried and they're still trying.
Hmm.
But I feel like when it comes to competing with the Titans already existing, definitely
Yeah.
a challenge for sure if we're gonna see anything come up.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I mean, like these days, like the new hotness seems to be like the extraction shooter games, right?
Everywhere, man. They're everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I haven't had much time to play Tarkov, but I can sort of understand the appeal to it. It's definitely a cool concept, and uh, yeah, it's very interesting. But to me, I feel like extraction shooters, you can, like, as a player, as a gamer, I can play more than one at the same time. Like I can play Tarkov, and I can also play probably another one at the same time. Like because they don't really take too much. It's not like Counter Strike where I have to like play. I can only play one competitive shooter because if I tried to play two, my skill sets they would probably conflict. It would be hard for me to like transition between two. But I think with extraction shooters, like when I played a bit of Tarkov, I can just play that, and then I can play a bit of Hunt Showdown, and I can sort of I can sort of differentiate the two because they were two very different experiences. So I think in that regard, I think extraction shooters you can, as players, I feel like we can play probably a couple of them, at the same time without like. But with regards to like competitive shooters, I don't see people like I don't have many friends that play Counter Strike and they also play Valorant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not, it's kind of rare, you know.
Yeah, so
But
I guess so. A third entrant that wanted to be an equal
mm,
Titan is even harder than Valorant, right? Because Valorant was, let's say, the second. So a third would
yeah,
even be harder than Valorant. They don't got the backing of Riot. So
yeah,
I think it'll be a stretch to say I expect one soon. But with all these new
yeah,
genres emerging, and like you
mm,
said, there's different peak points for all these genres. Extraction shooters are in that
yeah,
peak point. Let's
yeah,
backstep to another one that saw a peak a few years back. That being battle royales. I
yeah,
don't know if you
yeah.
had much experience
Warzone.
with Danger Zone. The kind of
Oh yeah,
it's like
Counter Strike,
it's like
Danger
the
Zone. Yeah.
unofficial CS battle royale. Like it's not fully
Yes.
there, but it's a great side game mode in my opinion. Do you think that Counter Strike should have joined the wave and had an official one, like Warzone dropping when for Call of Duty, like around the same time Fortnite did their thing?
Yeah. I haven't played Danger Zone because well, I just don't have much time to play. But I know of it. So is it 20 players? 20 players
I
or
don't know the
30?
player cap on Danger Zone. It's
Yeah.
been a while, but I love watching people play Danger Zone. And Back when
Okay.
I was first dropping in Danger Zone, it was a little jank, and it's nothing
Yeah.
like a Warzone, Fortnite, PUBG. It's a
Hmm.
great like side game mode, like I said, but
Yeah.
it's
Because
it's not Valve
yeah.
fully diving into a BR.
Yeah, because one of the things about BRs to me is they have to have a high time to kill. Because when you look at Battlezone, when you look at Fortnite, when you look at Apex Legends, like the time to kill is very high. Whereas in Counter-Strike, the time to kill is really low. Like you can kill somebody in a couple seconds, probably less, right? So unless they did something to make the time to kill a little bit higher,
They did.
uh,
So you
okay,
drop
so
in,
that
and
makes
getting
sense. Yeah.
weapons is a bit harder in that game. Like you don't just drop in and have an op or an AK. You have to like really earn
Oh,
your way through the
oh,
map.
okay,
So that
okay,
was their way
okay.
to combat that.
Yeah. So I guess they did kind of borrow a lot of the key elements from a battle royale because yeah, generally battle royales they have high time to kill and large playing fields. And yeah, I mean it was interesting that Valve kind of dipped their toes into it and I'm not sure how successful Danger Zone was, but I know it probably did have a considerable amount of fans for sure. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of battle royales, I think my favorite was probably uh, Warzone. Yeah, I played a bit of PUBG, but I just think Warzone has better shooting mechanics, and it just felt more satisfying the gunplay in Warzone, and that's kind of why I kind of enjoyed Warzone a lot. Yeah.
This is kind of a loaded question because I know you have a lot on your plate. You're doing a lot. Can't play
Mhm.
every game or watch every esport. But where do you think the future of esports goes?
Um. So like in terms of like growth,
Yeah, like
like will it grow?
the general esports landscape. All of these. Not
Mhm.
every game has to have an esport, but the big ones.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
where do you think the future of all that goes?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because like when we looked at when battle royales came about, they tried to make them esports, but unfortunately, that's not a genre that really lends itself well to spectators.
Yeah.
Like there's no, I don't know. Do they still do tournaments for like PUBG? They do. There's a few tournaments for PUBG. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few, but they're definitely
Yeah.
far and few between when it comes to big viewership events.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think in terms of esports, I think it's still gonna stick to the whole the formula of like the 5v5 thing. So we're not gonna see like I don't think we're gonna see like a extraction shooter become an esports thing
Yeah.
because I don't think it kind of lends itself to it. Yeah. Uh, I think with esports there has to be really balanced. So I think that's one thing extraction shooters don't have. Like it's like they don't have the balance thing. You kind of like play the game, but you're playing with a bunch of people who are at different levels. Yeah, that's never going to work for esports. So yeah, I think esports. I just think it's going to continue to kind of grow from what we see with Counter Strike and Valorant, and League of Legends. So right now we have Dota, League of Legends, Valorant, and Counter Strike. Those four games are like the pillars. I mean, Overwatch. I don't think that's popular anymore in esports,
Definitely
is it? But
has tailed off a bit with their
yeah.
esports scene, yeah.
But it was pretty popular at one point. It was
Yeah.
pretty popular,
One of the
yeah.
biggest for
And
sure.
and I think it could have. I mean, because to me, Overwatch seems very similar to Counter Strike. It is kind of like a 6 versus 6, but it's not round based. But yeah, but it is kind of like a 6 versus 6, and it's pretty balanced. So but yeah, I do think that games like Overwatch could potentially thrive in the esports. So I'm not sure why did Overwatch fail at esports? Was it because
That's
they
franchise
couldn't?
leagues, man. That's a loaded question.
Oh, okay,
The
yeah,
leagues
I don't
that
know.
the leagues that
Yeah.
teams and orgs had to pay to be a part of was
Oh, right, that's right. Activision they put a charge on that shit.
yeah, they
Yeah,
sure did. It's
yeah.
been a
Okay,
yeah.
that's that'll really stunt your growth. Yeah. So I think with Valve are so they're so open to the community. They kind of let the community run their own leagues and that kind of thing. And so they're able to let the esports scene kind of foster on their own. They don't put a lot of these guardrails, these restrictions, these kind of things. And
Uh,
I think that's really beneficial to the community. Yeah.
Speaking of big scenes out there, we got the
Hmm.
CS ecosystem. What
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on the CS skin market?
I think it's a necessity for Counter Strike to kind of thrive and to generate revenue. Because when you look at Valorant, how do they generate revenue? They sell skins, right? Like they sell they have kind of so I think it's important that Counter-Strike kind of does the same thing. They because in order to for it to kind of like to survive and continue development, they have to have a way of monetizing the game. And so I do feel skins is a good it's a good method for them, because it doesn't really change the meta of the game. Like, it doesn't affect the game balance too much. It's just kind of like a cosmetic visual thing that people can collect. And I think that's good. I mean, I think if people enjoy collecting the skins, and a lot of them, they seem to enjoy like certain skins, and it doesn't really it doesn't impact the esports community. Like, they don't have to like adjust their play styles to it to that. I think it's a good way for them to keep the development of Counter-Strike going. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been. I mean, obviously, people are back and forth on this, given the gambling side of things. But I've always
Yeah.
felt that no matter your thoughts on that, if you have some sort of investment into a game, like even if you just have
Yeah.
one knife, it's going to keep you
Yeah.
coming back or keep you watching or keep you invested in, even indirectly. And so it's
Yeah.
always been unique to me that the Counter-Strike economy reminds me of the RuneScape economy, where it's like I have this weird love for that side of things, despite what that has maybe grown into.
Yeah.
And Valve has kind of been unique in the way they've persisted with such a strong skin economy. We're talking about record-breaking highs. Bouncing off that, though, I know we talked about earlier, you don't have too much time, but do you have any time to be watching Pro CS at all? Are you invested into CS
Oh yeah.
esports?
Yeah. Ever since I attended the HLTV Awards, I met a lot of CS like esports people in the scene, and it was really great just meeting them and just like hearing about their journey. And yeah, ever since then I've been watching a lot of the majors. So I've pretty much watched all of the majors since then. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Austin major coming up now. Is it this month, Austin major?
It's going to be next month in June. So we're like
Okay,
4 weeks away.
Okay, wasn't there a Dallas major? That's different, right?
It is going on. That's the one going on right now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the Dallas major is going on right now, and okay, so
The CS guys,
oh,
they
okay.
stay moving. They go every week.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy, man.
That's
Like, so
insane.
yeah, it's crazy. And the prize pool for the Dallas major and the Austin, they're pretty similar, right? In terms of like
Yeah, they're
prestige
probably
level.
close to 1 million.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here, though. You got a favorite team?
Yeah, good. I don't. Yeah, it's hard for me to pick favorites, because like I really like watching all of them, and I know a lot of them put so much. It takes a lot of work to become an esports player. So I don't want to like kind of downplay the other teams by picking favorites. I do have a favorite, but it kind of ebbs and flows. I like underdogs. Honestly, whenever there's a tournament, I always like to kind of like root for the underdogs. So I remember a couple at a couple majors ago, Eternal Fire, they made it pretty high up. Like, I think they made it to the semifinals. I was kind of rooting for them because it was kind of cool seeing someone from a region that's not really known for Counter-Strike, Turkey. It was really cool to see them do well, and I was kind of rooting for them. So yeah, I do like rooting for the underdogs, but yeah, I think right now, the way Team Vitality is played, it's hard for me not to kind
You're
of be
riding the
impressed with them.
Vitality train?
Well,
This guy.
I have a soft spot for like the French players, and so
I bet
you
you
know,
for the
yeah.
French.
Yeah, I do have a soft spot for the French, like, because I don't know why. I like the French. I like French culture. I like the French counter-terrorist unit, and so yeah, I do. And I met Zaiwu, and I met a lot of the Vitality team members, and they were all really cool people and just really nice to just kind of like just meet them, and they were just so down to earth. But like and just the way that they've been playing, the past few majors, it's hard to kind of deny that, man, they've got something special this year. It's kind of crazy. They just added like one guy, Rops, and then it just kind of like
It's been insane.
that was the missing key. It's kind of weird.
Do you have
But
do you
yeah.
have a favorite player as well? Come on, or players or multiple.
Yeah, Zaiwu definitely. I love watching him. Robs is really cool. I mean, like he's like he's really yeah. He's like he's always good for a few clutch moments. It's kind of crazy sometimes watching him play. Um, Definitely Donk is up there as well. He's like sometimes watching him and like he'll do some crazy like insane like shots and he'll get onto these insane kill streaks that it's like damn. It's inhuman. I've never sometimes I've never it just seems like he's running a bot or something. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have a favorite weapon in CS? I think you mentioned this before.
Yes. Yeah. Well, back when I played a lot, I was a run and gunner. So I was like, I love being an entry fragger. So I would always be like, I would always be like the first or second guy in the room. So I would always use the MP5 because I like to run and gun. So definitely the MP5 was probably my top one. I was never a good opper. I would say I was probably just a medium opper. So my play style was really just run and gun. So MP5. But if I didn't have an MP5, if I wanted to like kind of hang back a bit and be kind of like a rifler, I like the SIG, the SG55 Commando. That was awesome. I just love the way that gun looks. I'm kind of sad that they took it out of CS2. They replaced it with that other one, which I think is kind of ugly. Yeah, because you know which one I'm talking about, right? In CS in CS Go, I think CS Go had they had like the S.
Is it
The 552, the Commando. It was called the 552
I
Commando.
don't recognize the Commando, but I is it the?
Maybe it's called the Krieg. I
Krieg.
think they called it the Krieg.
Yeah, yes, Krieg.
Sorry, yes, Krieg. Sorry. Yeah, I'm talking about CS 1.6. It was
I'm
called the
dating
Commando.
myself, so
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, the Krieg. So I like the way that short barrel look and just the way it looked. It was so
that
cool.
scope in, that two
Yeah.
bullets. That's all it takes.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So those two were my favorite guns. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite map of all time, Counter-Strike?
Yeah, I mean, I had a few, but I would say if I had to pick one, it would be a map called CS Siege. It was a hostage rescue map. It wasn't like it was never an esports map, obviously, because it was hostage rescue. But it was just an awesome map because it had like incredible firefights in this one area. Are you familiar with CS Siege?
I don't play a lot of hostage maps, so I don't think so.
Oh, okay, yeah. In fact, I don't even think. I think they removed it. They probably removed it in 1.6, so it was never in Go.
They remove.
Yeah, I'm old school, and I think my play style doesn't really lend itself to today's games. But yeah, it was called CS Siege, and it took place in this. I think it was like a parking lot garage, and then yeah, you'd have to look it up. It's kind of hard to describe, to be honest, but it had crazy firefights, and also CS Assault was one of the one that took place in a warehouse.
Yeah,
that one was cool too because it was really hard to. It was really hard to assault that warehouse and a lot of great firefights. But yeah, in terms of bomb maps, like definitely DE Dust was a great one. But if I had to pick something outside of DE Dust, yeah, it's there was like so many, and it's been a while.
Dust 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, aside from the Dust 2, yeah, I did like. Oh, I like Aztec. I did like Aztec a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know why I liked it. Maybe it was just the visual look of it. I mean, it probably didn't play as well as some of the other maps, but I think visually I kind of liked it. But yeah, probably the play style was not as good as Dust for sure.
Interesting. That we're on to community questions. Have just a half. I know we're already an hour in. I appreciate your time.
No worries.
10 community questions, and then we can ask about some future projects of yours as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Someone asked, CS spawned a decent amount of copycat games. Did you have any favorites?
I mean, is Call of Duty considered a copycat? No, I don't know. I mean, like I would say. No. Actually, a copycat would probably.
I think they were talking about back in the early days, maybe before even Valve stepped in, or after Valve did. Were there any copycats from back in the day?
Yes, that's right. There was other mods. Like when we were making Counter-Strike, there was these other mods for Half-Life and for Unreal. Like one of them was called Firearms, and one of them was called Tactical Ops. I didn't really have much time to play all of them, but I did play a few of them. And I would say Tactical Ops was the one that probably stood out for me. because it was a mod for Unreal Tournament. It was called, I think it was called Tac Ops. No, it's called Tactical Ops. Yeah, I think if you Google it, you'd probably see it. But yeah, it was probably the one that kind of impressed me the most because it was actually the very first game that actually introduced aiming down the sight.
Oh.
So yeah, that was the very first time you actually had to press your mouse and actually bring your gun up.
Oh.
Like it was even before Call of Duty.
I guess that
that was
would
the
have been a
first.
unique feature for the first time you
It
see
was.
it.
It was like that's probably what impressed me the most. I was like, whoa, this actually feels kind of real. And it was like I had to actually aim down these little iron sights. And so that was the first time I actually saw that feature. And so after that, we started seeing it in like all other games. It became kind of like a standard thing now.
And that's why you like the Krieg/Commando.
Probably, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's going to do it for this portion of my interview with Min Lee. The full exclusive interview is actually on my gaming interview channel, linked down below. We talk for another 20 to 30 minutes about Classic Offensive, more things Counter-Strike, and also his new project he's working on called Alpha Response, and a lot more things about the industry. So if you guys want to check out the full interview, that will be linked down below. I am sorry, I hate to do that to you, but I got to, promote that channel too, where I talk to gaming devs, publishers, streamers, creators on that channel. If there's anyone out there you guys want me to interview like I did with Min Lee, please leave a comment down below. I definitely want to talk to more people like this, and I hope you guys here on the CS News channel really enjoyed it, because for me personally to date, this was my favorite interview that I've ever done. Min is a great guy. I will probably try and link his video game down below. It's called Alpha Response on Steam if you guys want to give it a try, and it just it meant the world to me. I've been making Counter-Strike videos for almost a decade now, and to then interview this guy about the guy who created the game that changed my life, it was really eye-opening, and he's such a great guy. So easy to talk to about all things gaming, and it was really fun. So hope you guys all enjoy. Thank you all for watching, for liking, for commenting, and I'll see you all back here sometime soon with more CS news. Take care.